Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Here we go again with some brand new album reviews, any genre, experience. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe not. Maybe you never want to hear of them again. Might scratch that itch musically, might leave a rash. We'll go there, went there, got to go there. And we did all this in the name of new music. And she's back. Damn, Deb Armitage Hicks Maloney. No bullshit here. We listen to anything, everything, any way possible. There's no sway. There's no wheelhouse outside or inside. We don't let the outside sources in unless we're completely like, what the? This is an extension of our article sections of Beyond Your Radio. That's right. I wrote about these three albums on the site. The links to all are there. But what you get here on the show is you get Dam's perspective, which is pinnacle to your experience, unless you're ridiculous like me. So not only that, we'll add 3 more reviews because we're like that. We got nothing better to do. That's not true.
Yeah.
So if you like our opinions and everything else, I encourage you to put yours in there as well. If this is your first time joining us, we are here to ascertain you, as Gord Downey said, explore that which maybe you're not ready for or not had the time to. We tickle your curiosity, maybe even find exactly what has escaped your audio reach. So we hope that you enjoy this. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. That way you get clued in whenever I drop something besides stuff on the floor while heavily endorsed into a coma after a colonoscopy. For those that join us weekly, yeah, I'll stop bantering. But you love it, don't you? I don't know. Hell of a week, okay? In fact, the last 2 weeks have just been an intense amount of music that keeps coming at you consistently in the tunes of 30s and 40s. No, not blunts. I'm talking about the number of albums and stuff. My day job is pleasant, and it's not so pleasant all the time. So obviously taking its toll, and this session of Beyond Your Radio kind of has that idea of pleasant and unpleasantness, the tolls it takes and the tribulations, but the rewards, maybe, not always. Getting to them, spending time with them, and making a passionate attempt to find that connection is always something that I look forward to at the part of any day or night. This week I had a Red Dog. No, I don't. I don't drink Red Dog, and I don't drink Red Bulls, but I owe it to a lovely Loveland, Ohio trio that has taken the path of righteousness, say it, the organ-influenced keys and old-school electric guitar. Yes. Eat your greens, baby. A sophomore record that tells me and more listeners that this is a real deal, okay? Next up, I took a dark, droning path that offered no light at the end of any tunnel, just feedback, leaving me puzzled, perplexed, and personally stunned that I'm so far off on the connecting to this that I stepped into it again and again and again. Then I stepped heavily into an avant electronic orchestrated Essexer to purge my musical palette, my mind, and everything that else in the kitchen sink with absolutely no decent song titles. Did I mention this is Album Review Saturdays, episode 16, and there is literally nothing but instrumentals? No, I didn't, but this is musicianship in all kinds of directions, talents, questionables. So I encourage you to take this dive with us because there are rewards here for some, but not for all. Subjectivity here is on an audio all-time high, and I can promise that much. That's about it. So, where does one start? We start with Parlor Greens. The Emerald City is in Loveland, Ohio, my music-loving friends. If you're looking for who got the funk, get into Emeralds because the Parlor Greens have got the funk. And it's excellent sophomore record here. In 2024, they dazzled us, truly announced themselves, too, to the entire music industry with their environmental, funk-laden, organ-slaying, keyboard-centric band with a high sensibility of 50s, 60s jazz pop flair. I should not have been surprised because of the professionals at the helm here, but I only knew the one. I knew Tim Carmen because he was formerly of GA20. which is a shitty band name. On the drums. Now, then you get Jimmy James. He was in True Loves, and he's on guitar. But it's Adam Scone. He's tasty. He's the dessert. He was in bands that you'll never know of. Some Scone Cash Players, Sugarman 3. What are these bands? But he's on organ, and they're quite the trio. These are seasoned, soulful pros for sure, and they've come together to make another infectiously funky instrumental follow up that not only reannounces, but it kind of pushes a few things around a bit, giving us an idea that their sound, power of funk, has a lot more to do than what we normally think, which I'll get into because you always think of like funk and that's that swagger and carelessness and carefree and my shit don't stank and you ain't touching me and but this has this life trial and some tribulations to some degree. So put this in a realm where you know what Marvin Gaye is really saying, but what is he really saying, right? So I think we all get lost in funk as being confident, again, swaggered and unabashedly cool, and then this is cool. This record's cool, and it is. Don't get me wrong. But Parlor Greens here has taken that and found a very underlying life connection in this, with the presentation of this album, Emeralds. It led her to Brother Ben, has that stroll and social platitude, kind of intermingling with that short microcosm of the community, how you handle oneself with grace and gospel dignity, baby. Because the keyboard. While you go to what's Francisco Smack. Could you not put the sand in front of it so I could speak? Feels like a walk back in nighttime and suspicious behavior. And then you get the bluesy, as I already stated, I took a Red Dog that has that rough and tumble joint juke position, which was not on that first record. Got a raw bluesy position and little piss and vinegar, baby. So rock the establishment in this case too. Funk the establishment. What? Damn.
Wow. I thought I was going to like this album a little more than I did, but I think
Okay.
it's because of the electronics on it were very heavy for me. Um, they cite, Booker T and the MGs. Yeah, you can hear that. And anything that reminds me or is, I guess, defined me as Muscle Shoals, Memphis type thing. I'm expecting something, and this was different. This was not exactly what I was expecting, but the more I listened to it, the more I appreciated it. I didn't just count it out. Again, the instrumentals over with no vocals and that's a hard thing for me. And this week it was hard. Um, Now you mentioned Red Dog. That sounded like CCR's Susie Q.
Mm.
And that caught my ear. I liked it. I could feel myself kind of tapping my toe, going, okay, this is what I'm talking about. I like this. I liked some of the heavier songs like Jolene. The guitar was heavier, it was less on the electronics. It was, even if there was electric guitar, it wasn't like the keyboards and stuff that some of the keyboards on this just kind of reminded me of a Doors type overload. I'm not a huge Doors fan. Obviously, I respect the Doors for what they gave us in music, but a couple of the songs here, besides Red Dog and Jolene, yeah, Eat Your Greens and Mustard Sauce. I don't know if you put mustard sauce on Eat Your Greens, but they were kind of lively and fun. But the one that kind of gave me like a real visual, and when you can listen to a song and picture something so vividly that they did a good job. Maybe they didn't intend it, but Queen of My Heart
Mhm.
Um, that was funk meets. Now, this is going to harken you back to a day that maybe a lot of our listeners aren't from the area or not as old as me, but funk meets John Flaming Hearth with the U-shaped leather tufted booths that they had. And like that was,
Old
you know,
school.
yeah, old school smoky kind of place, but still loungy, like a lounge lizard might be kind of roaming the area. But yeah, R&B meets the lounge on that one. So all in all, for what it is compared to what I gravitate towards, I thought it was a really good album. I had to give
So
it more time.
yeah, well, okay. So in that the ending there, obviously, a death of mom, at the end of the Queen of Hearts, Queen of My Heart, and
Mhm.
yeah, so when it comes to something, and I was gonna intervene when you were talking, but
Oh,
obviously Jolene is a cover.
is it a cover? But it's not the cover I know, is
It
it?
is Jolene.
It sounded so different to me. I kept
Hmm.
saying, I know what
It's
Jolene
one of the most
is.
unsuspecting, really cool
Oh,
covers. They definitely took that in a way that, without any
yes,
words, no words at all.
I
But
know.
it's Jolene.
Well, that's really a cool fun fact,
Yeah.
Mark. I like
I
that.
I didn't by the way, I didn't double check it because I don't have to. I can hear it.
Okay.
It bleeds it, but then it has all this other great stuff with it, and that's what. And this is only a 3 piece, and they sound bigger than a 3 piece.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, incredible taste of how they hear things there in that regard. But
Yeah,
sure, this album harkens to a different musical era,
yeah,
but it's about sacrilege expressed in sincerity and an undeniable expressive um, movement. The keyboards here are a remarkable reminder of a type of sound that reaches down to the soul of things. And this is the great accompaniment that comes with it with these other two guys and drum and guitar. It's just crazy. And again, there's no bass.
right.
So that's an interesting.
Hmm.
Whoa, that's an interesting piece. We're gonna come to an interesting piece again later on here. But you got a dance hall nighttime experience too. But you got Queen of My Heart, which damn already talked about. But it's Eat Your Greens. Damn it, they're really good for you, and I'm sure you've never heard that before. Son, son, oh, bitch. Okay, so I warning to the musically avant-garde challenged. In my opinion, this interestingly named band, instrumental, electronic, and drone band, pushes an envelope to a place that most will find it difficult to journey into or even through. So it might, you might start to hear it and go, oh, yeah. And then 18 minutes later, you're like, no,
Yeah, that's going
no.
information.
Okay, next track. It can't possibly. Oh no. I would have to say that finding a connection throughout the guitar feedback, the impenetrable moaning, the extensions, and the deeply pounding waves of angry, sonic, Seattle sounding sea that this is will be a lot for people to handle. This is, though, Son Oh, and they decided to self title their latest, which, in the case of all things omnipresent with this band, probably very inconsequential except to the whole. Now, you can take the whole as the WHOLE, or you can take it to the whole that this might be for you. Um, this is a musical listening aptitude that winds up quite possibly the most difficult you can try to get into.
Yeah.
There is a place for everything in the music multiverse, and there are always going to be listeners that find their beautiful connection to this band's sound. Sun O is one of those bands that in their music multiverse finds themselves instrumentally lost in a never ending meshing of black drone, instrumental ambient, and menacing feedback riff. Is it riff? It that could potentially offend Neil Young and Crazy Horse. All right, and that's or send them to a nuclear shelter nearby. And yes, I was stoked to get Arc which is nothing but guitar feedback from Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Okay. And I put that record on and I was like, oh, it's live, right? So it's just distortion and feedback. And I was like, yeah, yeah. I haven't played that goddamn album since I got it. All right. I listened to it for those first few weeks or whatever, and I haven't touched it because it has its place, and I haven't found its place for me over the last few decades. And this is going to be one of those that is going to be there. Sun O is no stranger to this field. They've been in this field for 26 years. That is one of the astounding confusions of it all. Is that how do you come to this menacing sound, droning and ambient confusion for album like this? Now, I have a couple of the priors. No, they're not the same, but they are in that same wheelhouse. And this is a band that actually, when they collide with other bands that they mesh with and have made albums with, like Ulver and Scott Walker, who's an EDM guy, it's different, but it still has that position. I mean, back in the mid 2000s, I had a place for this sound. I had a dark place for collaborative effort. It's playing in the background while you know what? Let me do it this way. This is like a story that should be for Keep It Dark. All right, maybe it shouldn't have been on this show. Deb wishes.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Glory Black. You
Oh,
finally get a reprieve. Okay, from it all. In this, and this is the last song, and it's almost the last few minutes where finally the feedback in the guitar is washed away to um what do you want to call it, a pitched evil
yeah,
piano that's being destroyed
yeah,
by the player and
yeah,
pounded
yeah.
on relentlessly. But it fits. But that's a lot to ask of anyone to go through this. And I obviously went to Deb and I this is a background music for devout mercenaries in a foreign field, Ted Bundy's basement, or on board the Event Horizon, if you know my horror spaceships. Damn.
Well, I do have some fun facts for you. Okay. So yeah, they've had 10 albums, like you mentioned, that they've been around for at least 10 studio albums, I guess. But this album is an average of 13 minutes per song. And right there, I was like, oh God, I don't know. I don't know. I don't, especially this kind of music. Um, and to fit their music style and their persona, they perform in black hooded robes. So, that's at least they're sticking to the theme here. Um, and I kept thinking, is this a spoof? Like, what's happening? Now, the O with the three parens, it's actually Sun O is actually paying homage to Sun amplifiers, and the circle with the parens is to signify sound waves and amplification. Okay, so that's where that comes from. Now this week, since you did make it so challenging on me, I, wanted to tap out because my notes were like socks, 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 meh, socks. So I thought, no, I'm going to try to find one song on every album that I can go, all right, I'll give it to them. Started with Butch's Guns, Dismal. Does anyone here like Venom? Dismal. And then Glory Black. Dismal until the end. It started to surprise me, but then dismal again.
Dismal back. Yeah, yeah.
There was a little ray of sun coming. So to
Yeah,
say,
it's almost like the end of the professional, where the guy is trying to get out, and you're like, oh, he's gonna survive. No, he's not.
no, yeah. So,
Oh, did I just spoil
um,
the movie for people? Anyway, never mind.
oh well, spoiler alert. Yeah, this was not something that I would ever go back to. If you maybe do an album, you know, challenge, listen challenge. Oh, zero, 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 zero.
Zero, zero, zero.
And
I don't even
even
like the cover because it doesn't even fit on the cover. Why is your name not on the whatever. I can't
it's a
even.
big black space, and then way over there, it's like, oh,
There's a misprint. They just said, well, we can't afford to print it again because no one comes to concerts because they can't, they're too scared.
we've done
Uh,
that before on some posters here or there.
all right. It's a fine place to hang out in the depths of distortion horror guitar. Pedal stomping and wait, did you finally notice something? Yes, there's absolutely no drums whatsoever in this entire record.
Yeah, so weird.
A sound engineer's dream, technically, and the fluid, yeah, you can actually hear fluid in this record, and the fluidity of the album is beyond something to behold. However, the holding is the part that beckons to the battle of the ear and to the calling of the sound. You want to understand the beast and the parts. You don't. I do, apparently, because I'm a
Yeah,
sucker. But all of you're understanding this as a whole, and when the bass becomes drenching distort. I mean, they both play bass. It's only two guys making all this noise, and well, actually, yeah, the tone and ambient are changing too, but you are not going to be. You're barely aware that it's happening. This is survival, honestly, and it's probably drone at the best I've heard in Total Commitment because it's something special to a very few. But which begs the question: if you're not doing dark horror soundtrack work and you're not advancing this polarizing sound into a listenable position, how is it that you draw an audience or get record sales and continue for 26 years?
yeah, the mystery.
I think they just have lovely friends that continue to go. Maybe they'll stop now. Maybe this time. No, no, no. The hood's still there. Damn it, he's still got the hood. Anyway, perhaps there's a lot more here than meets the ear. Um, are we really listening? That's why I keep going back in black, and then and this might be as black and dark and deep as Sun O's Sonic Ocean has ever been. And I just had a parenthesis with a comma of possessive plural. Yeah, try that one with an apostrophe, right? Bet you never done that before. Okay, this square pusher, one word, Kammerkonzert, which is maybe kamikaze, that's
Yeah,
yeah, all right. If you are looking for an audio feast of manic, incessive, possessive, and intermingled generosity and geniusness, then Square Pusher, SquarePants, no, is an antidote for your polarism, your bipolarism, your orchestral genre shifting, fusive oppression and suppression. It's vitamin K time, baby, and you're invited to take a pill or the whole damn bottle to see where your ears, mind, and whatever the hell else thoughts go for this one. Let's just drop this one in an orchestral, jazz fusion, and chamber electronic experience under the guise of an instrumentalist that can unleash any kind of sound chasm he so chooses. And when I say he so chooses, this is all one guy.
not.
Kommerkonzert, all K's, is the 17th album from a one-man show. And I'm going to assume that Thomas Russell Jenkinson is not a household name. I have known, but many probably you won't. And for some of you, that might be your first experience into IDM, EDM, DJ, electronic drum and bass driller. But he's left the bass drilling and drum drilling to some other place. The reason we're here today is to showcase If you're dismissing this kind of music and the makers of this music, sound engineers, techno maestros, you might want to make sure you're tuned in on this one because for jazz fusionists, this is a remarkable record. Uh, as I take my K3, Diligence, it's called. On the record. I'm already reeling from the incredible musical pace this has, instrumental combinations of chamber jazz orchestration. There's an electronic bafflement kind of going on that can be described in one single listen. No, it's impossible. You cannot describe it. It's manic music manifestation with one clever, cunning, and unsuspecting piece after another. I can't. The intense string work that's going on here goes into dexterity of drilled plucking. And then the DJ, I can't even say half this shit. The DJ density of it is it falls away from drops and beats, and from any club experience he's done. This is like Herbie Hancock meets Bach on vitamin K. All right. Yeah. Vitamin K. In case you're not a vitamin K aficionado, vitamin K is an essential vitamin needed by the body for blood clotting. All right. Bone building and other important processes. So it's
Oh,
found in leafy vegetables. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't a
yeah,
band say eat your vegetables, your
yeah.
greens? Oh, here we are again at this lovely compositional of eat your greens, your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, and choke on them too. The name vitamin K comes from the German word coagulation vitamin.
Oh,
Yeah, sure it does. Whoever made that shit up. There's no word in Germany that says that. Well, maybe there is. Why did I mention this? Because all the songs start with K,
yes.
and I'm attempting to be clever. Damn.
My gosh. Well, it's definitely as he's been described. Miles Davis meets 90s acid house techno. Okay. And so instead of square pusher, he could have been LSD pusher on this for me. I don't know. But he likes Metallica too. So
Hey,
that's interesting. The Kammer concert is actually means a chamber concerto. Uh, a small group of musicians, instruments, but who knew that he was going to play them all? So that's where the multi-talented. I'm going to give it to him on that. I did go through my exercise of finding one good song. I tried. Um, he was a self-taught bassist, child prodigy, right? He broke his wrist, and I think then he turned to this. I don't know. I blame his brother if he broke his wrist because I mean I would have liked to hear more normal music come out.
although there's bass in here, there's no question.
Yep. Yeah, all the songs, the Ks, the K2s, the K5, the K7, K10. This is an album that definitely the word the term jazz fusion is actually what is just another word for anxiety for me. I don't like jazz fusion. This album I didn't like. I'm not going to say it sucks because he's obviously talented, but I did try to find one song and I liked K5 Fremantle, I think it was. It was really good music for a film. That's the only thing I could like give them kudos, his guy kudos on. Is like maybe he should do a film score. That might be interesting. So that's where I'm leaving it. So
All
I
right.
won't be listening to Square Pusher, Acid Pusher, K-pop Pusher again.
I don't know. This album feels like a bludgeoning of personalities in a room. It there's just so much going on. Yet it is so interwoven. There's nothing here that seems like way out of like you can't follow it. You can follow it, and you pick up complexities and entries along the way. This includes piano, which is nearly in a solo in K5 for Mantis, to incredible levels of violin, cello, viola, all of that working with one man's exceptional blending of like a classical orchestra, strings, and piano. And then we sink right into something like K6, which is headquarters, where we're got flute and synth, and a slow dropped funk bass and drum pattern. What? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's based, still layered and interconnected, which is artfully astounding, to be honest with you. The first time I listened to this record, I was like, I don't know whether my head wasn't where it needed to be or something like that. I just said, no, 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 no. This has to be. I'm going to put it in my ears and not have it on the
Mhm.
car. I
Yeah.
did the same thing, obviously, with Sun O. The achievement here for someone of a DJ producer and sound engineer, this is massive, to be honest with you. The sound and the recording of it is equally massive. There's not a moment of this 1 hour and 2 minute ear blowing manic opus that doesn't cause intrigue, anxiety, yeah, audio wowie. Well, I mean, I made that word up, and demanding perfection to a different level than like any honest orchestra without ambient. You got DJ, you got electronic trickery, which is abound and kind of delightful throughout. I do not wish to spoil the ride that this would be for people. So I don't want to speak to the combinations of how interesting it gets. Um, it's it's basically four interesting combinations of music coming together. You got jazz, electronic DJ, orchestral orchestra, classical, and progressive rock. Right?
Hmm.
Yes, I said progressive rock
Yep.
because as I certainly do not recall xylophone being part of the dichotomy of sound of the band. Yes, it's omnipresent on this record, and it's done intriguingly well, and not overabundant. But this is definitely an amazing record in that, and I think it belongs in the progressive archives of jazz fusion that maybe some people will latch onto. This is something completely different. In that it acts, sounds, and flows to such an incredible dynamic that it's impossible to contain it all, hear it all, and it's a testimony to the achievement of this lone multi instrumentalist and his overall grasp of genre recreation and manipulating. I mean, everyone should climb K1 through K14. Uh, but take your audio vitamins, baby, and be prepared. The extras. Well, maybe this will get back to the ever loving spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. So it was going to happen. The band driving and crying, crushing flowers. I've talked about this band in the D's when we talked about it. Unique pattern vocal. Their lead singer has the southern tinted rock and roll playmanship, and his frontmanship that's kind of like it's just dreaming of all those things of the Georgian rock. So before I turn this over to Deb, let me just say that this is a band that listens like a record catalog. It just
Mhm.
does.
Yep.
Your record collection.
Yep.
They love it all. They experience it all. They love a good war between AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, put in some Rolling Stones, Southern tinge it, and alternatively grunge it, sync it, ballad it, drop it. They don't care. Have some cheese with that one lyrical line. Don't have some cheese. Get diabolical. Get metaphysical. Get philosophical. There's cool tracks that showcase that kind of stuff, like Jesse Electric and the predictable death of me yet.
Rising sun, head on the highway. After staying up all night, coking, smoking. Baby took a loot, baby got a shooter. Well, I don't know where the hell I've been, I don't know where the hell I'm going. Get up, go to school, sleeping on the
Or the cheese that's looks like we're back again. But let's go to Dam and see how she's driving and crying.
This album saved the week for me, for sure. You're not surprised. It's interesting because um, when you listen to this album, you can tell who they've collaborated with before in some way, shape, form. Like with Peter Buck of REM. I mean, when you talk about this album plays like a record collection, You summed it up. I didn't have that in my notes, but I did pick four songs that will showcase the diversity of what they're doing here. Um, just to go back a little bit, influences like the Ramones, Clash, Iggy Pop, Thin Lizzy, Bob Dylan, REM, Cheap Trick. Okay, when you've got that going on in your musical influences, I love when they go and do that. I hate when I listen to an album and go, well, where are your influences in this album? Like, I like your influences, but I'm not hearing them come through. Well, they did this in a lot of places, this album for sure. Mirror Mirror had an REM feel to it.
Yep.
Dead End Road was the country, maybe the Sturgill Simpson, Bob Dylan
Bob
feel a
Dylan.
little bit. Come On and Dance was more catchy, poppy, fun. And then the aptly named song, Iggy Monkey, Iggy Pop, and that kind of. So this was a fun album for me. A lot of times when the genres kind of jump around, the flow doesn't work, but it did in this album. And I don't know if it's because the first three albums were so samey, as Everett, our friend Everett would always say, samey, and redundant and overwhelming to me. So this was a fresher feel, and I really liked it. And how long have they been around?
Since 1983.
Really? So they formed, and they were listening to the Clash, right? Music. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I want to say the first album is 85, maybe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, somewhere around there. They
Uh,
they them and REM were Georgia, you know.
yep, got it. Love it.
So we'll move to Truck Fighters, Masterflow. Now, two-man stoner rock band that has a very unique flow on this one that they've mastered for sure. It's kind of the incredible mesh of precise instrumental timing that they have, which is showcased in the album's title track with percussive and guitar magnificence that will certainly delight live. And I think they can probably take that any way they want to go. But the riff and the fuzz on this one is dense, it's heavy, it's continual. But and that's definitely staged to rip. And the Gorgon is an exceptionally heavy riffer, and then dropping into like a lo-fi shitty vocal is a massive play on the sonic awareness that they have. That works like a monster magnet meets Eagles of Death Metal and even Weezer. So,
Yeah,
damn, how did you feel about taking on the Truck Fighters?
wasn't surprised to find out they're from Sweden. um, you know, their influences, it's interesting because when I read their influences and I think about their music, it's almost like they took all the off kilter, um, I guess, sounds or feelings from these bands and just pushed them to the extreme all at once. So Soundgarden and Tool and Nirvana and Sabbath and Deep Purple. So anything that you can think of those bands that made them unique as far as the the deepness or the pushiness in your faceness. um, this band took all of it from all those bands and just took it to 11 as far as I'm concerned. It
Mm.
was hard for me. They love fuzz. They've had the drummer curse. They've had 10 drummers in 25 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if one spontaneously combusted, but we'll read about that later. And they're snowboarders, so yeah, there's kind of something going on with snowboarders. But like I said, this week I was going to find one song on every album that I could live with. Um, so Carver started out more acoustic at the beginning, and I thought this had some hope to it, but it really didn't go anywhere for me for far too long, and I lost interest in it. So to me, it was like, didn't catch me there. I liked Truce. Truce was more pleasant. Truce was on the lighter side. It wasn't so um, fuzzy. I don't like that fuzz so much unless it's used sparingly or intentionally. I felt like the vocals were just hidden behind the fuzz. I couldn't put my finger on it other than it was too much all at once and anxiety producing again.
Okay. Yeah, they have a grittiness that
Yeah,
the space articulation to push themselves beyond that fuzz.
yeah.
It continues, but it's like royal blood on steroids and distortion. It's starting to become a favorite now for me to listen to because people
Oh,
are talking about this band in live performances.
okay.
Josh Homme of Eagles of Death Metal has sworn that this is one of the new great bands on the planet. I know it's heavy stoner rock, but it's got catchy delights and a high low chord changing that's kind of inviting. And yes, I'm now interested in using the word gath more because gath as it's balanced in this Robert Smith Cure delivery, like
Yeah.
vocal into that intense fuzz, and it's interesting, and that's where I'll leave it because it's gonna tip some people the right way, and other people's gonna be like, well, we'll see. So finally, we end on hits like a girl, burning at both ends. You got emo synth pop at the forefront, as it's been. I think this is what album number 4 or 5. But here the band is making kind of a play for cohesiveness instead of just song and song. There's evidence of that, all of that that's come before that. I just talked about the emo and that, and I mean Jimmy Eat World and those kind of bands are involved in this mix, but it's still engaging. It'll hit those people correctly, I would think. But let's hear what Damn has because there's no fuzz, there's no distortion, there's no elongation. So and there's singing. So where you are.
Well, the one thing I do take offense to is the name of their band because I hope that's not being derogatory. I'm a girl and I could hit you if you want to find out. Let's do that. But you know, the vocals for me on this, I didn't really find too much out about them other than a couple of their influences. I think this is was the last one I listened to and I started running out of time. However, I found more than one song that I enjoyed. In places, the vocals were like like a turnstile or something that just kind of felt a little sour in
Mhm.
places. But in other places, like Once and For All, the vocals were a little bit better there. I don't know much about the band members. I don't know who was singing on which songs. I didn't get that deep, but I did like that song. Um, Only Have Myself. That was a little more pop like with a good beat. That was a good one. But Are You in Love started out like The Who and Baba O'Reilly. And
Mhm.
didn't it with the little,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and which caught my ear and I thought that's actually the song that had me go back and give the album another try, to
Mhm.
tell you the truth. And I think that if I had more time with it, it would have grown on me a little bit like Parlor Greens did. Um, and you said they've had how many? Maybe 3 or 4 albums?
This is their fourth album, I want to
Okay.
say.
And where are they from? They're from Philly, right?
Yeah,
Or New
Philadelphia.
Jersey, Philly. Yeah, there's something in there. Yeah. Yeah. If you've ever played a youth hockey team for Philly, yeah, I think Hit Like a Girl. Maybe that's where that comes from. I don't know. Maybe they came to Buffalo and played one of our teams and they went, nah, you got to. You got to be from Philly to hit.
Yeah, I'm sort of baffled on the band's name and title, and
Yeah,
this is actually my first experience on a whole album of theirs. I think I looked back and I'd reviewed one album back, and I couldn't remember, and I know why, because emo doesn't generally get on me, because
yeah,
there's a redundancy and a tuning here that
yeah.
tends to be problematic. And I can't dissensuate you from another sound or another band. So that becomes problematic. But I thought this band had some raw intent that worked well. And like you said, the Bubba O'Reilly thing
Mhm.
is you know, they know how to play, but you better pick your vocal right, and that can be
Yeah,
a little disengaging in cases. But I'm
yeah.
sure the youth of America, or that area follows, has a pretty good following. There's nothing wrong with the sound, the way it's recorded. I understand what they're trying to do, but
Hmm.
they may want to try to up an amplifier and try a different recording process of the vocal.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to thank Dam for joining me this week. What did you think of these 6 records? Love to know. Join us next week for the return of Brother Kane. What? Yeah, I'm sure, unless you're as old as I am, you don't know Brother Kane. But Brother Kane is back, and I had no choice. We had to let the spiders in. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And yes, with TikTok, it can only be those short shows, not the long ones. But YouTube, of course. Articles, videos, and a podcast coming soon. All about music, albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on. Go beyond your radio with us. A real music appreciation channel. Stay tuned tomorrow. In despite the playoffs of hockey have started, Steve Scouten and I will be doing Unknown Sunday, and it will be the old 97s, including an album ranking. Thanks for watching, and happy listening.
Go Sabres.